Pastry time and friends to take us into Game 4.
Thank you very much. And much like Doinby, I'm here at the desk with my friends. Was not a solo effort, but certainly made it count where he needed to with the pick that he got. And I feel like we've just watched three, honestly, relatively one-sided games. When LGD play their game plan, looks very easy. And Qiao have had two games, arguably the second one even better than the other. And it just, again, they get their picks, they find their control, and that's it. The game ends at about 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's the easy way to put that for sure. Is Qiao seem to be going from strengths of blue side drafting phase, I think, for the most part. They've always had a track record of being far superior on the blue side of the map opposed to red. So all things considered, they're executing better on this side of the map. They're making the relevant picks and translating that into everything ever. But they're also controlling the map, and that's against LGD.
Let's just call a spade a spade. They've played 2 games on the blue side, and they've picked Lulu twice, and they've won 2 games. So, you know, at the end of the day, someone's going to have to ban a Lulu in this set. Otherwise, Qiao are going to win.
I feel like there's a trend.
Yeah, well,
in Qiao best of 5s.
Yeah.
The thing is about Lulu, right? And as much as that game was about Doinby, and like it's funny, you watch all the replays, but a lot of them have like really important wild growths, the shields, a couple of really good transmogs in there where like Polymorph just comes through and all of a sudden Imp does completely nothing. You don't want to cleanse that CC. So Lulu is just, the speed up augments so well. Honestly, as far as that game goes, to be able to neutralize the Fiora pick in the top lane, especially when they swap back, to be able to 2v1 lane much better with a range carry like Lulu in the top lane, especially when you feed her blue buff. That game was as much about like strategic level of Swift being able to get around the map, give his mid laner and his top laner what they needed, give some love and attention everywhere else, and then dive the heck out of Godvi, as it was about the end result, which was Victor. Like, he took over the world in that case. Like, there were creator skins everywhere, and he was blowing people up with the ultimate.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there was, like, of course, the multiple factors. It does come back to Lulu not even being that impactful. It was taken away from LGD, but still did a whole lot. The overall effort of Qiao and the way that they did adapt to the changes in their play style was just phenomenal. They didn't look like slowing down at all. And it was, I still feel like it's weird that they win a slow game against LGD.
I guess that's my question. Is that, do you feel like from game 1 to game 3, given the wins we've seen Qiao have, do you feel like they've gotten better at, like, this will sound weird, but better at winning? Because I feel like game 1 looked good, but they fell behind. It was a little awkward. You know, there was a chance there where LGD were going to snowball that mid game away, and then that team fight sort of got them back in it, and they snowballed from there. I feel like game 3 was much cleaner, at least, compared to game 1. And it had kind of the same net effect.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is to do with the fact that LGD don't often lose the map. And when they do start losing the map, they are one of the teams that are willing to forfeit objectives. And what that normally means is that they channel farm onto their primary carries because they're so good at balancing it. This game, because they were weaker in 2 of the 3 roles, it just wasn't able to get to that point, which meant when they were slowing the game down, because LGD were the ones that put the brakes on, they didn't want to fight anymore. Godvi and Imp were fighting for farm, and you could see it was at the time when one needed Zhonya's and the other one needed Last Whisper, and they went into the next team fight without either.
Yeah, I guess the generic response is always to trade objectives instead of forfeiting, and this is a potential downfall of LGD in the way that they want to play. Is if they get behind early, which is so very rare because their laning is just phenomenal, then they can be very much worked around.
The other thing is it's really hard to trade into Victor, because you can send 4 people to a dragon and leave Victor mid lane, and the guy just, especially if he's that fed, wave clears for days, and then you try and dive him and he kills a person that goes on top of it.
And you can see back in the highlights, you'll see plenty of Doinby action as Akon dives in, tries to do it for his team, and then eats the Chaos Storm.
Yeah, dangerous territory there, trying to engage onto the Victor. At this stage of the game, he was already so very big, and I mean, the wild growth's only going to ensure that he stays alive for as long as possible. V doing very well to get it onto the right target.
This was a team fight that I actually thought potentially LGD could have won if they just continued to kite back. PYL was always going to dive it. Acorn diving back in just opened up a whole host of bad news stories on the back end of that.
The zoning Zonias as well from Doinby.
Yeah.
Securing absolutely nothing, but ensuring that they can go down. But yeah, they didn't kite back. They didn't play to one of their few strengths at a period of time when they didn't have many to begin with.
Yeah, they had 1.
Yeah.
Even looking back over this as well, like you see actually some nice ults as well out from TCT, and we talked about Braum being important. See the big Swift sign there as well. I think the one thing that QG never want to leave home without, I think they did this in game 2, is just some good engage tools. Because they know they have to try and kill Imp. They probably need to snipe Godby, and they're a team that when they see a fight, they'll go straight forward. They're so good at team fighting and pulling the trigger, but I feel like they need the tools to do it. And that game, they certainly had them.
Yeah, with the Ashe, with the Braum, definitely had tools to be able to engage in onto the LGD lineup. Honestly, they just brute forced it, and it's going to be Doinby, 707.
With an honorable mention from Swift, most certainly.
Yeah, he sent his regards. You know, and as much as Swift gave him a boost up, Doinby took over that game. Like,
Really
only
did.
he came on Victor.
Yeah, honestly, and as much as Swift did camp everywhere ever and pressured everywhere and forced all of these fights, there were still solo kills in this particular middle lane where Godby, this stun in particular from Doimir was just executed so very well to ensure that Swift getting both of his early kills on the back of Doimir also setting it up. So it was a bit of a mutual effort there. Yeah.
I almost forgot about that
He
steal,
gets
by
the
the
dragon.
way.
Just a boot, just to add insult to injury in this game. They
Yeah,
get the
Godby.
dragon by steal.
And he gets ignited and he's dead. Godby had a really bad time this game. That's the other common factor, I guess, about these games. You see Doinby again with the huge ulti and the V Wild Growth to help him out. The other factor in games 1 and 3, where QG have won, has been Godby actually not having a very good game. He didn't have a great Orianna game, and he had a really awful Kassadin game there. And he's not a bad player. He can play those champions, but with the bans, the way they're throwing the bans, I feel like QG's strategy might actually be put down the mid laner and deal with Imp when the mid lane is weakened.
Definitely sounds like a viable strategy, all things considered.
That's This was
That's
great.
just so not necessary, but hey, it worked.
I enjoyed it.
I think, like, looking back on that replay, I think that Godby was actually trying to mind game Doinby there when he went in aggressive on Kassadin the first time. He just didn't realize that Rek'Sai was already at the middle of the lane, so Doinby was like, even if there is a game coming, I don't care.
That was level 6.
yeah.
Immediate level 6, just go in. And
Yeah,
play.
exactly right. Just go and try and mind game him. Looked like he timed it so well with his junglers present, it just wasn't able to work. So once again, you got to look at the mid lane. I completely agree. 2 really off performances, and TBQ in both games that Godby goes missing, TBQ like follows him off the map. He like, I don't know.
Just walks off the edge of the rift.
LGD's style of play, though, I guess, is they do like to hide TBQ unless they're winning, and then he kind of pokes his head out of the hidey hole that he has been in and tries to actually find some kills, make some proactive decisions. So if middle's losing, and this is also against Xiao, to be fair, who are just probably the best team in the LPL at actually working around the mid-jungle synergy and just being everywhere as a duo, it makes it look like TBQ doesn't exist when their mid laner doesn't exist.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And once again, you have to look at it and go, why was he not playing Lee Sin if that's the case? Because repetitive invades into the jungle. Like, who else would you rather have on your lineup than a Lee Sin trying to kick the junglers out of there? And there were time and time again where, like, as good as Gragas is in the current meta, and for any other jungler in the world, I would encourage them to play Gragas, TBQ just plays a different kind of League of Legends when he's on the Lee Sin.
And even seeing how they played Rek'Sai differently, like Swift again, has lots of control, can be everywhere, can get farm and get big, but the fact that he gets the option of ganking aggressively but doesn't have to overcommit with something like Lee Sin or Elise, or even Nidalee, I agree, he's a good aggressive jungler, but if he can still get worked on a champion like Rek'Sai, that's probably a net positive for his team.
Yeah, no, definitely is. And, I mean, seeing that Xiao played the Rek'Sai as well is actually a change of their own style in that they put this early pressure now down and they've made LGD's life miserable in terms of the junglers who has gone for a Gragas, hasn't gone for that early aggressive type of Lee Sin that he should probably be on himself. In terms of how the jungle 1v1 pans out, it does still feel to me much more like it's the 2v2 and incorporates the middle lane. And that's even more so evidenced by that last game in particular, is that Godby didn't do well, and then suddenly TBQ just doesn't exist, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm sure Swift would rather be playing Nidalee right now, would rather be playing Elise. They've been banned twice as well. So Rek'Sai and Lee Sin have a similar thing. Rek'Sai is better earlier game because has the knock-up available with the flash, and we saw that used to great effect with the turret dive. But in the same right, Lee Sin would have been just as safe in that game to be able to execute it on. So it really is a stylistic thing. And just credit to Swift, the Korean jungler that came over from CJ, of being able to play like every single style in the book right now and make it look easy.
Yeah.
And Swift was always going to be a big factor in this series. And QG
Swift's
find
a great
themselves
jungler,
up
man.
to one. I agree. Ever since I saw Swift play OMG, we played Rek'Sai, ganked Cool like 3 times in the first 10 minutes, and Cool was done. He like mentally checked out of the game, was sitting at his turret for about 5 minutes, being like, I'm scared. I don't want the Rek'Sai anywhere near me. I saw that game and I was like, man, this guy's really good. And he's continued. Now in the finals, up 2-1 on match point against LGD.
And this is actually something that you have to look at the LPL as a whole and how quickly the Korean junglers have come across and dragged it up. You know, it started with Insect, but then there was people like Beast that came over, also a really aggressive jungler. You throw Qiao, Swift, Dandy when he was playing jungle into that mix, and it just... There's one role that they really have started to revolutionize and up the tempo of even Chinese games, and it's that jungle position. It just looks so good, especially when you're able to get like China already had these aggressive mid laners. You throw aggressive Korean junglers behind a lot of them, and they go berserk a lot of the time, and that's what we're seeing in today's games.
I think you can coin it as Korean finesse combined with the Chinese aggression that has just upped the entire scene as a whole. But
and the best thing is they've dragged the Chinese junglers up with them. All of a sudden, the LPL junglers also performing pretty well.
And then the opposite, we get the Korean solo laners playing with the Chinese players, and all of a sudden they're the ones going ham and getting aggressive. It's been a great year of LPL with the Korean.
The amalgamation has been so fun.
It really has, and you can tell there are some strong Korean players on both these sides. And LGD surprisingly sitting down a game.
And do you know the best part of the LPL right now? Is we've seen EDG, who are pretty likely to go through to Worlds, get beaten by LGD, who have secured their spot, who's now about to be on the verge of being beaten by QG. One thing is for certain, you don't want to land in a group with a Chinese team right now at Worlds.
They've also lost to Invictus Gaming and EDG, so you never know. You couldn't even say, maybe after this game we can give who is the best, the #1 team, because they will be crowned as #1.
Yeah, exactly.
But for how long are they considered #1 with the Worlds qualifiers? Will they just lose the first game as well? We don't really know.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, that's a great point, because Worlds is definitely coming up. LGD, of course, have already secured their spot, but to be effectively called the best in China, that's, in effect, what's on the line here as far as the LPL title goes. Title of LPL champion. And for QG, there's extra incentive here. So LGD, all right, fine. You're off to Worlds already. Congratulations, you've made it. PYL and Imp still want to win that title. I think PYL for himself and Imp just to have 3 major titles from around the world.
When was the last time that a rookie team won the LPL as well? Did Devil do it?
I think some little team called EDG might have done it.
So EDG.
He did it as well, yeah. So Name, a.k.a. Devil at the time, did it on Positive Energy, and I think EDG were technically a new team when they won.
So when they moved WE over to a new brand.
Pretty much. And then OMG when they came out usurping World Elite. It's been funny. There's been a long line of Chinese succession where basically the throne has been usurped by a team. World Elite, then OMG, and then EDG. And then EDG keep winning. And then now in summer in 2015, they fall apart and lose to 2 different teams. The competition has never been better. And again, for QG, they haven't got their world spot yet. They're fighting to be 2nd seed. They can't best EDG, I don't think. But they can get themselves that much better in a position to make that run to Worlds. LGD are already there. China only gets to send 2 more teams. They've already named 3 that aren't qualified yet that will be absolutely fantastic on the international stage.
And you know who's cheering for QG the hardest right now? EDG. They no way do you want to run into those guys first side of the bracket because they're just going to be so scary to deal with. So I agree. The Worlds qualifier is definitely going to be interesting to say the least. But we've still got a couple of games, hopefully less in this best of 5. QG right now 2-1 up. But back on the red side, see if they can win.
Can't be thinking about the Worlds qualifier, that's for sure. Even LGD can't be thinking about, oh, whatever. It's just this tournament. We're going to go to Worlds anyway. Both these teams need to get their focus in and try and finish off this series. A 3-1 here from Qiao would be quite surprising, but they want to ice the series now. Game 4 is always very nerve-wracking when you're up 2-1 because you win the series and you're done. You don't have to play anymore. And if you lose, you feel like it's okay. You've got the second chance. But you have to go into a Game 5 off a loss, and then you're playing literally a best-of-1 for the title.
Yes and no.
Exactly.
If you lose this, you do have a buffer, but you don't want to lose this because then you're in a Game 5.
Exactly, against LGD.
And there's surely a little, as good as QG has been, there is a little voice in the back of their head saying, if you are ever on red side first, you will lose every best-of-5 set ever.
I think it's in everyone's head at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm sure they would love to silence that for themselves and prove that they are able to close out in 4 games. On a red side would just make it even sweeter.
Certainly would here. So both teams going to line things up. Imp, head in his hands here. He's played so well all series long. It's hard to believe he's got Kog'Maw 3 games and his team has 2 losses.
Certainly surreal to consider that fact, to say the least. But it's not that he can only play Kog'Maw, it's that he is so damn good on Kog'Maw.
And Kog'Maw's great right now.
Yeah.
Trust me, Imp is not the problem with the way he's been playing. He is in world-class form right now.
No, but then the root problem is not going to be the Kog'Maw, it's going to be the rest of the draft, the rest of the team. And what else they actually want to consider.
Championship point.
Yeah,
You see the cup come up.
Bringing
That's
out
right.
the trophy. That is so many lights and a very shiny trophy. All of a sudden, I think, yeah, the teams can definitely see that from where they're sitting. QG can look over and have a little bit of extra incentive.
I was about to say, I was hoping that the stage would pick up QG's chairs and just move them a little bit closer to the trophy, you know?
You remember the old studio where they faced each other?
Yeah.
You do it like that and have it in the middle.
Just edge it.
I feel like the trophy should be up high and they should just go up a rank every single time. Yeah.
Ladder match
Yeah,
style.
ladder match. Would be
And then
amazing.
when you lose game 5, you're like plummet to the ground. Your team's like scattered everywhere. Well, we are in the draft now for game number 4, which could be our final game. LGD going to be on the blue side. Both teams have won only on blue so far, so QG have to break serve if they want to ice this series. But the bans are almost done. Elise, Nidalee, and Victor for LGD. And Xiaogu banned the Lulu. Diana, Yasuo, and Lulu. Get him out of here.
Callista.
She's open.
Oh, that's true. But they did get rid of the Lulu, thankfully. So keep that in mind. It's not as great now.
And Callista insta-locked. And it's not just Imp that's really good on this champion. Unlocking PYL is always a dangerous proposition. If QG win this game, what a way to finish the series.
And this is the best part about this is that LGD played the best around Callista just because how they like to play as a team. And it does unlock PYL. I feel like they should pick the Braum just so that PYL can't be Braum with Imp.
Yep.
And then throw in a Braum. It's pretty scary.
Braum's win rate been pretty good this series as well. I love these two hovers from Xiaogu. They know they have to shut down Imp. These are pretty good tools to do that.
Once again, I'm going to, as I said, I really like the Diana Lulu bans, but banning away the Yasuo is just really confusing, I'm going to say right now, because they take the Braum majority of the time, and unless there's a double wall. If they go with Alistar, I'm definitely happy with it, but if that was going to be another Braum,
That's
I'm going to question it again.
There's Maokai. They thought about
Question
Shen
away.
Alistar, but it's time to question. Those are the picks from QG.
And it's not bad by any means. I feel like
No.
TBQ is now giving a shout out to Swift, who for some reason is giving a shout out to TCT with the Thresh. But they've gone for the Braum, and we've seen the success of Braum. It's no surprise that they're going to go for that. But there's so many other options that they can consider. Are they really that desperate to pick up the Braum so that PYL can't?
Well, Callista thrashes down the lane for LGD.
Yeah.
And Rek'Sai, the jungler there for TBQ.
Wow.
Couldn't ask for a better start for LGD. Oh, Doinby.
How many point-click abilities do you want to be able to throw on her? That's the question.
I told
Why would you ban Yasuo if you're going to go for a Nautilus as well? That's another question.
Doinby might not play it. I don't think we've seen him do it, but he certainly played against it. That much we can tell you.
Well, for all we know, it's doing, but he can go Maokai mid. He's done that before.
Yes, as well. That was before the Nautilus mid, by the way. Certainly knows his way around a few takes in the mid lane.
good.
Yeah, I like it.
I like this, by the way, if
I
they
like this
lock
a
it
lot.
in.
There we go. There's Cogmore for TNT. I was waiting for him to play it. He played it 3 times in their last best of 5 versus IG. Finally gets his hands on it, but I don't know if he wanted him on Callista as the other side. And I wonder if Swift's going to take a big playmaking jungler for himself.
Acorn go Rise right now as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Echo. It is Gragas. They'll swap things up at the last second. Gragas Cogmore, QG's 3rd and 4th picks.
Very strong 4-man that they've got for themselves so far. Well and truly securing the fact that TNT is going to have a big line of tanky men in front of him and a giant unkillable tree as well to ensure that he's alive. TCT on that Braum will be able to hold his hand through it. The question is Doinby though, because he needs to be a hyper carry now.
It always is. Azira's open if Godby doesn't want to take it away. But it looks of things, LGD going to put a bit more power into their solo laners here, but plenty of time to consider these last few picks. It could be their final ones. They want to make sure they get them right.
I mean, if Ari's locked in, it's fine. I honestly think this is Imp BMing Doinby based off the semi-finals performance against an Ari that Rookie kind of showed Doinby the ropes.
I thought that about Fiora as well, but managed to lock that one in. PYL, yep.
So
locked in now.
Godby historically is a brilliant Ari player,
Yep.
so it's definitely a comfort pick for him. Acorn's a really good top Hecarim player as well. And what they have right now is if TNT is the only carry on the game, 3 ways to kill him. People are going to come in from 3 different angles and try and blow him up. They get the double reset right now because they've just gone with the Gragas. Not Gragas, they had that already. They've gone with the Azir.
Yep.
So they're able to shove people away and also use the Gragas barrel, but it's really hard to shove Acorn off your Cogmore right now.
And Hecarim can ult over the Emperor's Divide as well.
Yeah,
So-
he is unstoppable.
Yeah.
Too spooky.
Really,
for the soldiers.
really difficult to deal with the team comp that LGD have got right now. If you were ever a carry of Xiaogu, there's one thing that you can look towards as a saving grace, though, is that TNT's positioning is generally immaculate. There's very rarely a positional error that he makes, and that is a very good factor looking at the team that he's going to be up against. But
And I want to know how early Acorn throws points into his E, because we've seen people go like 3-4 point queues and then started maxing out the E, because you want E to have ranks as soon as you have home guard boots on Hecarim, so you can just shove hoofs into the Void Puppy. Like, that is the entire goal right now. Probably going to go 5 max there because it's a Maokai lane. You get the helicopter going and Maokai struggles with it. But E is going to be a really important ability on that man right there.
Yep, Acorn on the Hecarim versus V. Back on the Maokai to start off our matchups in top lane. Moving to the jungle, TBQ. Back on the Rek'Sai. Swift's going to get Gragas for the 3rd time in the series.
it's a dangerous jungle duo as they're going to be able to gank a lot early between the two as we move towards the assassin style of mid laners.
Ari is there in the mid lane, but this is the big story. Imp on Kalista. TNT took away Cogmore, and P-Whale's on the Thresh with TCT's Braum. Again, QG, the odds are stacked against them here. Imp has Kalista, they're on the red side, but if they can win this game, what a way to finish
And
against
QG
LGD.
take the 2v2, because right now there's a danger of a roaming PYL if you go with the lane swap, which is where they've looked super comfortable, but they haven't done it against a Thresh so far.
No, and I mean, even if you get 2v2, it's not also going to be bad news. It's tricky, to say the least, to play against these teams. We're going to see if QG can do it. Let's get onto the riff for game number 4. And here we are as Imp YL move out for possibly the last time here for LGD. Hard to believe they're down 1-2 here in this game. They must win back-to-back to be the LPL Summer Champions. And Xiaogu, the Cinderella story almost, on match point now. Trying to see if they can ice this in game number 4.
TCT needs to be careful. He's actually wedged.
Uh-oh. Don't do it. Don't take the 10 gold. Oh, hi, Godby. Backs away. Sentinel's not worth his life. He realizes, and he just sort of very surreptitiously back away.
All things considered, that was really close to
That
being
was.
charmed or at least annoyed many times, but he stays in the safe zone, gets out perfectly fine.
You feel that was nearly gone, V? Like, First Blood's not worth the point
Yeah.
that I've taken, Charm.
Yep.
Not giving up lane control anymore.
Already
No
has his
way.
cue, so
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
yep. Done with you.
Yeah, no, he was never going to overcommit to
Yeah.
anything, but it was just going to be damage on a TCT. He's a tanky man. He'll be fine, but this bot lane, I'm very shocked that they actually gave away the Thresh and the Kalista. They weren't even picked at the same time.
It's a real fun lane to watch, isn't it? M3 were the first team to really run this lane in the LPL. And the way they'll do it is exactly this. Share experience, get level 2, and then just destroy people. That was when Candy used to play.
If you think Imp is good on Cogmore, you guys have clearly not watched his closely yet. He is frightening on this champion. They are going to go 2v2.
And the recipe is Calista and Targon support. Like, honestly, that's just the recipe, because you're able to shove up really early. And you use that Soul Link passive to just create so much pressure.
See, they're trying to get the trades down. Good Q into PYL. Little slap down a minion. TNT will keep his distance.
It's the level 2, though, is what LGD are looking for, because
creep.
from this point, you're pretty much zoned. It's not a whole lot you can do, just because the strength of that lane with a hook available is through the roof.
TNT already flashed. Just had a poke over there by his summoner spell. I don't know why, but that's actually nice there for
Tried to
for
type in
LGD.
chat.
Maybe.
Forgot to enter.
Tried to
He
dance.
pressed D to dance, yeah. It gets you sometimes.
Pretty awkward place here. Game 4 of the LPL Grand Finals, but that's going to make this lane even worse. You can see still level 1 here for the Cogmore. Imp YL completely zoning them off this wave.
But how many creeps are going to die? 1 dies, 2, so they deny a couple of CS. The rest of it should be able to be picked up underneath turret, to be honest.
Going to start now. Akon in the top side. No, it's V actually getting aggressive early on. Hit level 3, got a big wave behind him, and Akon gets a huge chunk out of his health pool.
Yeah, if anyone knows this lane matchup, it's V.
Yeah, the two most played champions that he has played were 17 apiece before this best of 5. He's now on one against the other, so.
And the turret dive might come out from Swift right now.
He's been spotted multiple times. So
Yep.
you would imagine not, especially with that Wolf Spirit just to boot, like if he ever came in the jungle. He was a spotted man.
TVQ did not like what happened in the last game. He's keeping the surveillance systems online. Just TVQ. He's going to try and steal away the Raptor, but Swift's going to say nope, get knocked up instead. That's a bit awkward. Going to try and trade back, but TVQ with the early damage. Swift gets destroyed in that 1v1.
And still wants the big Wraith.
So greedy.
Wow, this is great.
Swift actually might get himself killed here if he's not careful. Smite comes down. Swift does get it, and he didn't use his Smite. Got outplayed.
Trigger happy.
That was red buff.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an auto attack that got it, so it must have been the red buff. Secure that one away.
Calculated.
Yep, definitely
Like we
calculated.
said, these Korean jungles, man, on the next level.
Always on the next level. It's back in the bottom side. TNT actually catching up relatively nicely. And again, Impwayel going to get that experience lead, going to block them away. Braum going to do a decent job with the Unbreakable, trying to keep them back. But if QG can weather the storm, we've seen their mid games. They'll explode in 5v5s, and they've got a good 5v5 team as well.
It's just so indicative of an imp lane, is that he's already this far ahead in farm. The second that PYL leaves, though, Xiaogu recognized that, and they try and push him out, try and reset the lane to a point where they can at least safely farm, but already 13 CS behind. At 5 minutes in the game from laning phase, that's rough.
Certainly is, as they come to the top lane. Having a bit of trouble, but he'll catch up in CS as he takes these out as well. And Doinby trying to push in early with the Azir. Ran out of mana here as Godby able to keep that turret back in. Did have a lead early on, did Azir, but gonna have to go back and replenish that mana pool now.
Recurring Ari nightmares. It's the Doinby special at the moment. One of the few laners who really does struggle against the pressure that Rookie was putting down, and now Godby at the same position. Just sits there and harasses you if you try and farm, and it's the weakness of Azir in that respect before you actually get items.
Speaking of, Rico bow up for Imp in the bottom side, so might be rushing Runins actually, but could of course be Blade of the Ruin King as well. So seen this a lot from Imp. Certainly a build that seems popular since the Kalista changes.
Yeah, if you can back on BF, it's very enticing to go towards something like a BF sword and go for the Q max. But Blade of the Ruin King is a really safe pick just because you're able to get a lot more auto attacks in someone.
Yeah, and the Kalista changes recently have made people err towards the side of attack speed over that overshield and utility from the Bloodthirster. There's been experimentation since the changes with both, but the consensus seems to be that attack speed is the best option.
Good damage in the top there as well from V as he's...
I'm actually really surprised how many double door and rings we've seen today out of mid laners.
They really like their Dorans in China, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Like discount at the moment that I didn't know about?
Maybe.
There's no sale
on the Chinese
No
server. Oh, stun. Not quite there. Swift's here as well, though. Good threat.
This is good. Swift being here is just a presence. Might be enough to get this wave to the turret to reset it. Because at
Otherwise
the moment...
it was there forever.
Yeah, because it was going to be frozen in place. And at the moment it hasn't actually reset, so there's a chance that it's still going to be frozen there forever.
Does PYL grab it and drag it off? No, he doesn't. He actually walks it back towards.
Not going to happen this time as Godby trading up with Doinby. Have to be careful of the old Sand Soldiers. Godby got a little bit of an item lead here with a Fiendish Codex plus double door. It's actually, I guess it's the Crystalline Floss that's the difference there for Doinby. Just to make sure he gets his farm on, as there's a farm fest in the top lane as well, once again. A very quiet early game, but this time we're actually in standard lanes.
And this time you feel it has to favor the Maokai, the Hecarim, sorry, if it favors anyone. If you want a quiet laning phase, Hecarim's the guy that you go to because you haven't got to escape someone at A. So if you make it to level 6, you breathe a big sigh of relief for going for something incredibly greedy in the Ignite. And then you just think, Trinity Force, as soon as it comes through, you run over the top of the AD carry.
Definitely does. And that's one of the bigger factors here, that you look at this LGD side and you say, we'll favor them heavily if they get the standard lanes. But the biggest factor right now is honestly the CS discrepancy between this bottom lane. So Imp is having a field day right now, and it looks really rough if you were TNT.
Yeah, not getting any better. I was gonna mention that had a couple of constants this series that Cogmore is in a game. Maokai is featuring prominently. Kallista's pick from him when he has it, and he's still ahead in CS. He's been ahead the whole way, even in their losses. And they've got 2 of them do LGD. Blue buff going to be donated over to GodV. TBQ is going to set that one up.
Oh, that's twice.
And once again.
In this time, there's no Chalice to save him, so this means TBQ has to gank his lane.
The jet ski's out in shame. Goes to the Cromp.
That's not good. That is really not good. I mean, one thing to consider is though the CS discrepancy is high between the bottom lane, they're still keeping up. They're still going to power spike really hard. So there's windows where Xiaogu can well and truly utilize their strengths and team fight. But until such a time, this is LGD's chance to win laning phase really heavily to the point where they can snowball the game. But with no blue buff available for GodV, not as easy because Azir can control the lane.
TBQ now instead. Gonna try and get some of that vision down. We're approaching that 10-minute mark, so
you can see influence the lane turret right now. He recognizes that he has done this multiple times and it hasn't been enough. In the game that they were able to win very heavily, he took the turret early and was able to get it into other lane advantages.
Swift is here, I think, knowing that. Power's getting quite low. TNT only with a Sheen, not able to put up too much aggression.
That's so funny because Sheen has like the biggest power spike on every other lane matchup, apart from Kalista, because she is just such a bully, and they've reset it again. As soon as Swift shows himself, they just freeze the lane out.
TNT backs away. No, he doesn't hit the recall button. GodV gets a good charm in the mid lane as Doinby.
Surprised he didn't go all in then.
Answers back. Surprised Doinby didn't cleanse, to be honest with you.
So I think that would have been a tandem decision there.
Ignite came out, cleanse came out.
Good point.
They were both waiting for each other to pull the trigger, I think. Doinby playing much more reactively than GodV, who is the one actually hitting the charms now and controlling this laning phase a little bit better. Even without that blue buff, he's still doing real good.
Bottom side again. PYL's going to eat the chair, but him's just continuing to push. He's 30 CS up now. Only growing. Great harass with the Q there as well. This might be the way if they get the turret. TNT's going to do what he can. They're not going to quite go for it just yet. And Swift's making his way down. He might have a very small window here to gank.
Unlikely.
They've got the Rift Scuttler.
Yeah.
And there's just so many Sentinels running around the map.
Window closed then. And again, Swift has had a passive early game. He's fine as a farming jungler, but often looks best when he's being proactive, and both junglers have chilled out.
He's 13 CS behind. That's 3 camps.
Yeah, but he's trying to not have a passive early game. That's the big issue here.
Ooh. Oh, they're going in. TBQ's here.
Slightly, yeah. TBQ's waiting around the side. Fates calls pop. Now they know the problem.
They're going
Knock
in.
back there as well. Im's trying to get aggressed on Swift. Needs to jump in there. Gets the cast down. Might be enough. Akon's here. He gets first blood into TCT. And it's all gone pear-shaped. The knock up there as well from Rek'Sai. V joins far too late as he gets hooked by PYL. And the kill's going to come in again. V will die. LGD get 3 kills.
That was 3 kills that probably should not have happened, to say the least. Hecarim is now 2-0-1, and this is Xiaogu acting desperately at 12 minutes in the game when there was no kills on the board. They didn't need to do that gank, but they have put so much time and effort into this bottom lane that they felt the need to do it eventually. And that was the one time it didn't work.
And we said TBQ at his best when he can find the counter gank. This time it was telegraphed as all heck. That wasn't going anywhere but bot. So the fact that they were able to, I guess, successfully read that, and Acorn picks up another couple of kills. We already said that with falling behind, TNT is going to have a bad game. Well, he's 30 CS behind the top laner, who has 2 kills now, and will go towards that Trinity Force nice and early.
Yeah, that's actually Runar's first item. That's crazy.
Wow.
Im's gone all in on the early game.
That is, yeah. That is flexing some muscles as TNT is trying to catch up in farm. We got the Nashers out for Doinby. The Frozen Heart's close there for V. But even GodV's now got his Morello Nomicon. The pace from LGD.
Building.
A little bit of everything.
He's getting a variety bucket at the moment. he's so torn.
The combo?
Yeah, he's so torn between an actual item. So if I get a bit of everything, it will be an item eventually.
And this is why Kalista became such a popular carry, because she's really fun to play with Runards. So you throw spears everywhere, you get all your Rens going, it's great.
It is actually.
Imp going to have a field day right now. He's up 40 CS and has his rune arms and can just hop around the map.
Yeah, probably going to try and take some turrets, which is why he swapped here in the top lane. But
Nah, he just wanted to hop, man.
Totally not for objectives.
Look at this.
He's hopping a lot. He's basically a rabbit, but he's also going for this objective. The V is so far behind compared to Imp, who's just a monster. It's going to be really hard for him to actually deal with this.
Imp's like harassing him as well. This is adorable.
But he doesn't do much damage.
No, he's got a
Not
rune
yet.
arms, remember,
Yeah.
so it's
Ooh,
ticking away.
TCT. TNT, sorry. Dead in the bottom lane to Acorn. Ulti not even there. TBQ just there with the assist. And it's starting to go real bad
And
for
all of a
Xiaogu.
sudden there's an ultimate to use mid lane. TVQ already there. They'll shove the wave up.
This has been, without Godv at all, LGD are just starting to run away with this game. And the biggest factor here is that Doinbe's not winning. It's not that Godv's winning or losing, it's that Doinbe's not winning. So he can't be somewhere with the jungle.
Oh,
Here
now
he
going to get
goes.
all in. Charms out there as well. Doinbe does not go back in, but now he has to push them out. Can't quite surf away to safety.
Acorn's a monster.
And Acorn's fourth kill of the game comes in. LGD going to take mid lane.
Yeah.
Acorn is 4-0-1. That was all Godby. Able to line that gank up, was shoved away, and then the rest of his team just comes in to play cleanup.
Yep, it was actually fairly simple of them, to be honest with you. It was telegraphed in where they were going to go, when they were going to go there. But there's no answer from Xiaogu because they literally just cannot get there in time.
They're 5,000 gold behind at 15 minutes into the game.
How does this keep happening to Xiaogu? I'm not even talking about just this series. It was the same deal
Just in
against
general,
IG.
yeah.
They went up, and then IG figured it out, managed to win 2 games, and then QG made a couple of
They
tweaks in
clutched
game
it.
5 and clutched out the last game. They're looking very likely to be put in that same position, but with no offense at all meant to IG, LGD are looking like they're a cut above. This series has been rough for them.
And
But
with
if we
all
force-
due respect to QG as well, when people expected QG to win the series, people did not expect QG to win the series once it got to Game 5. Because you look at the resume of people in Game 5 situations on
Yeah.
Invictus Gaming, and that's a very hard lineup to beat. You know, as I said, I still think QG is a better team than them, but to beat Invictus Gaming in a Game 5 situation after all the mid-game and mid-series adaptations that came through definitely was a resume bumper for this QG lineup, but to be able to do it against LGD, that's a hard ask.
It is. In this game, you have to think they'll play it out, but it's going to be certainly very tough here. Not over by any stretch, but 5,000 gold down at 15 minutes is, that's a lot.
It's a substantial amount. You look at the control along the map, though. It's not just that they're ahead by 5,000 gold. It's that everywhere is winning. Acorn in that top lane is a monster on this Hecarim. There's no answer that is even remotely possible from V.
And even Godby's starting to get a bit more aggressive. Doinby might ride in there, but
This is the thing about
He
Ari.
was,
This is why Ari is a strong pick right now, and I think it actually got tapped in the last patch. 515, her healing is ridiculous off the orb if you throw it through the creeps. Hit a champion with it, and you can sustain through harass. Very underrated part of Ari's kit.
Yeah, the passive is the biggest factor. And I mean, we saw Doinby have a very hard time against Aries. He seemingly didn't consider the passive a thing from that heal, and it ended up being the ultimate downfall of him on more than one occasion.
That was
And not looking good now.
how is it this good? He's back up to about 60, almost 70 CS ahead, trying to push down some turrets, and it's making Xiaogu's life generally unpleasant. All credit to Acorn. That teleport really set this game up nicely for LGD. But just watching him play this whole series, he's just looked so insanely good.
And this is the thing, they look great when Imp picks up the farm and Acorn picks up the kills, because Imp needs another person to get going. That's what this series has really proven, that as good as he is, he still struggles to do it by himself. So the fact that he's up 70 CS, but Acorn is the one with the 4 kills, just means that all of a sudden, QG have to worry about getting rid of 2 huge members.
Yeah, it's near impossible to get rid of one of those 2 huge members because it's a Hecarim that is super far ahead. Is really close to that Trinity Force now himself. And objectives are starting to fall down here for nothing.
I wonder if he has it when he goes back. If they could get Trinity Force on second Dragon, that means QG can't even look at it because of the home guard gank that will come through from there.
They'll die in its presence. There's 10 seconds up to that dragon. Acorn's starting to go back. I have a feeling.
He's got 3 really good wards to go to right now, and PYL's clearing out the jungle to make sure
Oh
that his
my
path
God.
is And he has it.
He does have it.
Yep.
Home guards teleport.
He's done.
Oh
See you, top
my
lane.
lord.
TNT gonna ride his way in. He's level 12. He's gonna go for the 1v2.
That's
He
not
actually
good.
gets stunned up. The ult's out there as well. TNT does be a huge kill for him, but Akon ulti's out to safety.
he just felt powerful, you know? You buy that Trinity Force, you're like, you know what, I do damage. And
No, I
then
don't.
he just... Oh, he teleported so far away.
The drive-by.
It's really a drive-by. It's like a drive-in movie.
He's like, don't worry, guys. We secured Dragon.
Kalista thankfully helping out on that front.
All planned.
TNT and his Trinity Force as well is actually going to deny some creeps. And Acorn
He was like, why do they hit so hard?
looking a little silly.
Thought you won lane, Imp.
And Imp's like, hey, check out my items. I definitely did. And QG going to
He's
continue
almost at
playing
2.
from behind. 2 dragons up now for LGD. 3-1 up in turrets and a bevy of gold. The late game team fighting's there, but QG going to have to get there. And if the game continues on this pattern, it's not going to last too much longer. But so can they hold on? Weather quite the storm.
The problem is the objective secure is just so strong out of LGD. That's why Kalista is a really fearsome champion. Snowball's pretty damn hard, but also just has objective control at all stages of the game with that Ren passive.
Yeah, if you're ever ahead as a Kalista, it's near impossible to actually fall behind ever again in the game. And then you look at the rest of the team. Well, speaking of,
Doinby barely missed getting flayed. Good ulti just bops him away. Dashes out to safety. And Imp will be more than happy to trade those cooldowns.
ooh, Doinby does a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's got Nash's needless to large rod. It's not awful.
No, Doinby's farmed really well. He's 20 CS ahead of the clock.
And Akon.
Yeah, and that means Godvy's on the clock as
Not
well,
Akon,
so he's
Godby.
doing really well, all things considered.
But
If
they
you-
already started baiting out this Baron.
I like the ward there from Xiao Gu. They got
That's
another
so
one as
nice.
well. Oh, TCT! Blown up there as the Unbreakable comes out. He's still eating the damage. Will go down to
They
TVQ.
just start it now.
No, they're going to go in for more kills. Swift, a little out of position. They're going to keep running back in. Akon just tags him
Well,
with the
now
ult
they
and it
definitely
takes
go
the
for
kill.
Yeah, there's no position on the map besides the Baron that is going to be a free objective for them to consider going for. Akon's already massive, but from the looks of it, they don't actually want to go immediately for the risk that is going to be
They
securing
just want to
that
continue
Baron.
to bait it, you
Yeah.
have to feel.
They just want more kills. They're
Yeah.
out for blood.
It's almost more valuable up on the map
Yeah.
than it is dead. Because when it's dead, QG know you can't be baiting them.
Ooh.
Doinby's trying real hard to defend this, but the way Imp's playing,
I'm very surprised Imp didn't go all in.
Well, they tried to throw 2 skill shots at Doinby and both missed by a whisker, so...
Imp would have died too. Straight up, Imp would have
I
died.
don't know if Imp cares. But
Imp
he's
may
going to
not
play it a
care.
bit more safe. His teammates might. That's fair. Oh, Charm? Almost. Good try there from Godby. Doinby's trying to keep his team in it. If anyone can gatekeeper and stall out a game, here's someone like Azir.
Yeah, the Emperor Screamer, man.
Certainly capable of holding out a game, but you can see based off the way that LGD are positioning is they don't want him to deal with those minions. They want to kill anyone who goes near the minions or the objective they're trying to take. They've got Ahri for that pick, so it's really dangerous for anyone from Xiao Gu to be near a turret or Baron area or Dragon.
Basically, Summoner's Rift. It's kind
Anywhere
of a no-go
that's- yeah.
zone right now.
Yeah,
for
stick
Xiao
under
Gu.
turrets.
Even then, it's still risky.
Where can they go, Rusty? Because they're pretty fast in running out of options in this game.
They need more Zonias to zone people.
Well, from Doinby actually like the adaptation.
Oh, the hoofs into the turret. Oh, that damage is sick. I really love Maxi. Like, Hecarim was a really frustrating champion with Smite, and so fun when you go Trinity Force Maxi second.
Sure, Akon's happy for the change back in Summoner spells. Xiao Gu continuing to defend as best they can, but still that gold lead. Almost 6,000 up for LGD. And the Dragons are starting to pile up, and that Baron threat's very real. QG have to play reactively for probably the next 15 minutes. And that is a long time in a game of League of Legends.
That also is nearly pretty much fifth Dragon if that is what they do. So I don't even know whether they have that option. They need to see if they can find picks, continue to damage out Godby. I like the build that's come out of Doinby because he should be able to control the tempo of team fights if they do take place. And still relatively low health bars of, wow.
Ooh, box out there as well. They're trying to get a kill onto V. Doinby going to charge his way in. PYL does have the
TCT
Fates call ready.
Oh.
Dodges that Q. Now's the ulti out from Kalista. And they'll get away to safety.
So that was really well played, actually, from V to use the twisted advance to the nearest minion, avoid the thresh box completely. And then he's completely fine, gets out safely. The rest of the cavalry arrive to save his
TNT,
life.
you do not want to be there.
He does.
Not enough minions just yet for Acorn, but he's definitely in
Did you see that last
consideration.
teleport? I don't know if Acorn cares about the minions.
I think Acorn learned his lesson from that.
I honestly think that Acorn was like, he must have like 3 members behind him to approach me in such a manner.
Apparently it's only the Braum that it takes, so that guaranteed stun passive
Yeah, that's huge.
kind of a big deal in terms of a 1v2. Acorn's getting that armor though. Becomes a lot easier to 1v1.
Blue buff contest now.
Throwing charms at blue buff is an interesting large.
Oh! Who got it? It was Doinby.
Doinby.
That's a good pickup. Gonna need it to push these minion waves away from their turrets.
But they lost top lane in response, so, you know, it looks like a win. But when you look at the cross-map objective trade that did come out of LGD.
Yeah, and it's timed well with the Dragon as well. 20 seconds from now, Acorn can use his teleport. He'll probably just go back to the bottom lane or something and try and assassinate the Cogmore, but it's closer to the Dragon this time.
8 seconds now until Dragon's back up. And it's items aplenty for everyone on LGD. QSS done for him. Another half item done there for Godby on top of the Abyssal Morello Nomicon. And now a full Spirit Visage and a Randuin's for Acorn and TBQ respectively. Levels are starting to pile up and QG can't contest for Dragon number 3, but Snowball is racing down the hill now at this point. We're about 8k up on the LGD side.
That's going to be a very free objective to take here from LGD. And Xiaogu, they are very well aware that the Dragon is the plan of attack and that is the avenue that LGD are taking. So the response is near immediate. They want control around the Baron area because that's the only thing remaining to take on this map. But while we're talking about things to be taken on the map, Imp decides bottom is where he wants to be.
Does he dive the Cogmore? Oh, the turret's going to go there. Cogmore's not going to stick around. Third day.
It's on his own right now. We'll take out the turret. That's 5 turrets now for LGD. Got just the tier 2 in mid, I think. Still sitting there.
Yeah.
Probably not for very long, given the pace of the game. LGD, again, just those first 10, 15 minutes. That first teleport from Acorn set up this entire game.
Yeah.
Swift giveth and Swift taketh away.
Certainly does.
In regard to QG right now, you feel.
The Gragas just, it's not as impactful as everything else. The early pressure is always still going to be there. It's that disengage tool that comes with the rest of his team. And as a style, they really do enjoy disengaging from things and fighting on their own terms and only on their own terms. But LGD just force them into fights. And
No one forced Gragas to go that deep on the bottom lane turret. That was an interesting life choice.
Yeah.
Well, that particular one was...
yeah.
You bring your own keyboard and mouse, Zach.
Yeah.
Look, all right, you don't get someone else's.
So he wanted to fight, okay? He really wanted to fight bottom, so he stayed bottom for 7 minutes, got behind ACS, and then thought it was the best time. But look, it was, the idea was still there, though. The idea that LGD's bot lane is always winning, irrespective. And he wanted to camp that lane. It just didn't work because the way that they won the lane was so commanding that he couldn't gank.
And this is what we said, that, oh wow.
Oh, Acorn. Hello, TNT. Gets pushed back there. Ulti's out as well. Damage actually not there. A great Braum ult from TCT will disengage them. Even PWL can't get in there with the Fate's Call. LGD really trying to get this damage done, but the 6 tower's going to fall. LGD will just take the objective instead.
And this is what we said, like there's, I hate to bring up solo queue during competitive play, but there's the old solo queue adage, like don't gank a losing lane, because there's a really good chance that they lose even further because you show up there and you give away 3 kills, and that's exactly what happened. Obviously in competitive play you have much better tools like the communication of teleports and things like that, but LGD just baited that to perfection. They hid TBQ around the corner for so long. He got a 1-man knock-up, then a 3-man knock-up on the back end of that team fight, and they were just able to swing it in their favor. And we keep saying, with Doinby in team fights, QG look amazing. Without Doinby in team fights, LGD look like they can take the skirmishes.
And don't be fooled by the pace of this game. LGD are still insanely far ahead.
10,000.
At 28 minutes in with 3 dragons to none. Baron again, not been looked at. I still can't quite grasp how one-sided these games have seemed.
Yeah.
no matter which team wins.
The priority pick is just
Yeah,
such
blue
a
side,
big deal.
man. Which is good news for Xiao in Game 5.
Looks like Imp wants to just jump over this wall and kill the closest person.
Imp does this when he's really far ahead, especially on a champion like Kalista.
Oh, yeah.
He would start hunting people. He's like, I don't really need
I
to
can't
farm.
believe they haven't started it up. They've got a Randu and Doman on their jungler.
Prolonged baiting will result in an eventual kill, one way or another. The question is, when will Xiao pull the trigger and actually look at the pit?
Let's see the pings now, but that's red pings there with QG.
Yeah, Braum went over, dropped a ward over the back of the pit.
Found Imp hiding back of the pit. Doing a Twitch impression there. Well, it's going to take up the top wave, almost level 16 as well. 3.5 items, including the QSS.
Doinby can still carry this game.
I know,
Really
that's the weird
perfectly
thing. Like,
honest.
this game is going on so long that Xiao first or only team fight might actually be enough in this game.
And they're the team with the track history of winning fights when behind 10k gold. That pink ward is so unlucky. But at the same time, now they've got 3 big items under this Azir. The Void Staff is done, and now his damage exponentially increases against his magic resistance stacking players, which is literally everyone.
Wow.
Pops away from Akon, Fate's calling to TCT. He's going to get picked up here. Imp's going to get the kill. Never mind the Doinby. 5v4 now. Charm not out. Teleports down. Doinby's going to get them out. Akon gets trapped. But the Lantern's there. He
Akon
might
dead.
be safe. Swift around here as well as Akon has to ulti himself away. But they're still fighting in, but Imp is doing too much damage.
Look at
TBQ's
Doinby.
going to get the first kill. The damage is disgusting. Doinby is trying. He actually might be
Doinby.
now. He actually got Imp. Now Godfrey's going to get chased down. The Twisted Advance will follow. Zhonya's is out, and Doinby will clean this fight up.
They gave him all of the time in the world to actually get items. He's the only person on this side that is doing super well, and he's the one that carries them through that fight. The Hecarim got caught under the turret, to be fair, got completely destroyed by the teleport of V, but that's a fight that should not have gone badly for LGD. They had that, and then they just let Doinby become massive.
They just let an Azir set up 3 soldiers underneath his own turret and continue to die. TCT died before that fight started. Don't even think he used his ultimate.
They didn't.
Just turn around and do Baron.
They don't want to. They really don't want to.
They really-
Again, like, watch the fact that TCT is already dead
So
here.
right here, there's 0 vision on Baron.
Yeah.
But they continue to dive through. Charm was down. Doinby destroys them.
Like, that divide actually caught V into a horrendous position. Doinby uses Flash and Cleanse to stay in a safe spot, and that safe spot is destroying 3 members at the exact same time with
Yeah,
his
and then he
sand
sends them
soldiers.
all over the
Oh,
wall.
they found another catch, maybe TBQ. Caught in the Dragon Pit, has to get himself out, but QG are fighting back now. They're taking it to LGD. They're still down quite a lot. And now Akon's going to ulti in. Doinby going to try and push them away. Might not be enough. Doinby is dead. There is Imps in the backline. But he's actually face taking a little too much. TNC late to the party, going to try and clean it up. But Imp's already got a double. They'll clean house here. And as quickly as they won the last fight, they lose the next.
Shouldn't have happened just there. Xiao, they feel overzealous. They didn't have the Malka. They didn't have TNT. They didn't have a reason to be there.
Tried to rush the Dragon and got punished. 4 kills now for LGD. And now they do Baron. Yay. I mean, look, they're making the easy choices, but
10 minutes overdue.
Hey, you know, being done now. They did win another team fight before they actually go for this one. So they get picks that they're looking for. And not only are they getting Baron, they're taking everything at once.
got to be very cheeky. Knocks down the mid lane turret. Baron goes down as Kalista secures that. And LGD rocket back up ahead in gold. Sorry, guys, false alarm. But LGD can't let that happen again. Doinby is still getting stronger. TNT's really far behind, though.
And that's one of those moments for a series, because obviously we're going into Game 5, most likely at the end of this game, that you look at it and you feel really good about your mid laner. All of a sudden, QG, after a demoralizing victory, have a shining point in the match to look back on and be like, yeah, Doinby absolutely whooped some backside in that turret dive. Like, if we just be patient, outplay them, maybe don't give Imp 100 CS lead for the 3rd time in this series, we have a chance of really riding our in-form mid laner into what should be a very close 5th game. We've got blue side, our lucky charm is right there.
So that's, like, I completely agree with that, but then if the idea is going to be how do we stop him from being 100 CS ahead?
Yeah, I haven't figured that
And
part
then we
out.
spend the first 10 minutes sitting bottom lane not actually getting a gank. to be successful, the one time they do it results in the exact opposite that you were looking for, then, I mean, there's the positive, there's the shining light in the middle lane.
Yeah.
There's also the complete pitfall.
In the bot?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I don't feel so bad about being able to figure out how to shut Imp down is because it's been a year and a half nearly, and no one's figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm quite comfortable with it.
Few teams, that's for sure.
You can live with the not knowing.
Yeah.
Sun Tower's up. TNT desperately needs a last whisper, by the way.
The only thing is the over-aggression that Imp does
has,
sometimes, yeah. Gets that god complex.
The best way to beat Imp is with Imp.
Is to let Imp outplay himself.
Yeah, well, that's why like Imp and Deft always fluctuate, because Deft is the opposite, super safe.
Yeah.
And when Imp has his moment, Deft is definitely the AD carry that was always there to clean him up on the back end of it. But when Imp plays League of Legends to this extent,
TNT can't even lane. Imp's not even directly hitting him.
yeah.
The Runans.
The Runans.
Yeah. That's gross.
Doinby unfortunately can't defend all 3 lanes at once.
Oh, he's trying.
He's certainly trying. Good
The fact
LGD.
The fact that there's Baron, though, is making it near impossible for Doinby to deal with. They've got the pick potential of both a Thresh and an Ahri.
Sun
They can
Tower's
just
down.
brute force.
Yep. This inhibitor looks very dead. Don't think QG want to fight over this one. Maybe think about defending those Nexus turrets. But LGD will take the money and run. All right, in this case, the inhibitor. No need to rush.
They got 5th Dragon in like 2 minutes. Like, if this game goes for an extra couple of minutes, they still have the very big buff to come onto all of their members.
It's as simple as the win conditions that LGD have are just through the roof, whereas you look at Xiaogu, and their answer in this game is to not die for as long as possible, so that they can maybe get a pick and maybe get something from the pick.
It's a game of choices, you know. As long as you're the people making other teams create bad decisions, as once again, Govby
Speaking
looking
of bad
for a
decisions,
fall. Yeah, so as long as you're the person like forcing a team to like, okay, what do we give up? How long do we not fight for? When we do eventually fight, what do we hope happens to one of their PCs during the middle of the fight for us to actually win?
I mean, there was a tower dive before. It's not out of the question. Starting to enter some dangerous territory here. Important to note as well, that gold lead that you see right there, what, 14, 13? It's called 13,000. That difference is basically how much gold QG need to get the game back to about even. 65,000 gold's about where you want to be as far as full build for most of your primaries are concerned. And LGD are already there and more. QG got a lot of catching up to do.
Oh, 100%. Honestly, like with some itemizations, like I'm going to look at Ahri, who has quite an expensive itemization if she wants to go optimal. She wants a Void Staff in there as well as probably a Luden's Echo. She's going to go a swap out. Probably 75,000, so they're 20k away from like having premium builds. Because I'm looking at their team. Azir's got a very expensive build. Cogmore has a super expensive build. I mean, you have Infinity Edge and stuff in there if you really want to go deep.
Let's put it this way, is Azir has an upgraded boot.
Yeah.
Like that's how expensive he's having to go, how desperate he is to get the items opposed to the mobility. And he's against 2 pick champions. And he's only got boots 1. He's upgraded, he's bought an elixir before he considers that.
Yeah. So, yeah, they've definitely got expensive item builds on the side of QG. Have to see if they're able to stall.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, there's no time for premium. There is barely time for thrift in this game. We're going to have to settle for average at this point. Hopefully as the game drags on, above average and then up towards that nice neutral amount. TNT does have his last whisper, so he'll do quite a bit more consistent damage, but still hoping that LGD make another mistake. And they're not interested in doing that right now. TCT's trying to ward, but it's a dangerous game warding right now.
Oh, the Callista.
Fate's call. Who's he going for? It's TCT.
He was going for the Cogmore there.
Yeah. That was a big disconnect. And I mean, it wouldn't be a Xiaogu game, to be fair, without a late game team fight with a 10k.
Oh, Godby has to ulti. Acorn coming. Oh, God. Here comes the... They hopped out. Oh, wow, they ultied. That's how scared
You
he
are
was.
so divided.
Well, 5th Dragons now for LGD. Have to go back up towards that base and hope somehow that the Nexus stays alive for a couple more minutes. And Acorn's is going to take the tower.
That was almost a great pick, though, for Xiaogu. They could have prevented the dragon from going down. But now that it's fallen, now that it's actually possessing the 5th dragon here, LGD.
Oh my god. Box actually from PYL. He's trying to zone them out there. Takes out the inhibitor as a result. LGD going to wander bottom side. Sorry, top side. After being bottom.
There's just no answer. Xiaogu honestly just do not have an answer. Have to sit here and deal with this for as long as possible. Maybe get a pick if they can. But doing that is near impossible.
He's got to dig nice and deep into those carry pants.
Yeah, he does.
Pull him up right over that stuff. And pull out something here in this game.
Get out his backpack.
Be a very nice backpack. Swift's going to get charmed up. Hooked there as well by PYL. And that's going to be a kill for the Thresh. Doinby ult's already trying to keep them out of the way, but the Fates calls down. The ult's up from Braum. Can't quite fight as TNT gets jumped on and destroyed. Godfrey's going to clean up the kills, and LGD are going to clean this out and take this game. We're going to push it all the way to 5 as TCT is getting chased by a horse.
Yeah, and the fact that Doinby was still able to pick up a kill on the back end of all of that shows how well he's done this game. Acorn chases down another member. This will be LGD destroying the Nexus and going to game 5.
Blue side very strong in this series. Xiaogu will get it for game 5, but they're going to push it all the way to the limit. It wouldn't be an LPL final without a 5th game.
Not at all. What can you say, though? They just, every single time a team has had the first pick, they've been on that blue side. It looks like a landslide victory every single time, games 1 through 4.
That was 18,000 gold. That was a landslide victory.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, every time a team wins, not only does it look one-sided, the second game they win looks even better than the last one that they won. So what the hell happens in game 5? Because only one team can win.
Usually defaults to passive, to be honest with you. Everyone actually starts to feel the nerves, and all of these landslides seem to hit a plateau.
I feel like we've been watching these two teams play against each other and learn them better and better and really learn their weaknesses. So when you get to this clutch moment in game 5, it's how you show off your strengths that really matters. Because that's a great sign.
Yep.
Doinby going to put his head down. Couldn't quite carry it on Azir. They're going to see what they can get done.
Yeah, so the thing now going into this next pick ban phase is, do LGD ban the Lulu? And in the same vein, does the Kalista sneak through one more time? Because my answer to the Kalista one is definitely not. No. That was not a good news story there for the QG lineup. But LGD, they've been a little bit disrespectful with the fact that they've left it up twice and been beaten by the Lulu twice, and I want to see whether they make the 5th game adaptation.
I mean, it took them this many games to actually adapt themselves, Xiaogu, and get rid of that champion. And in the end, they actually gave a champion that was much more highly contested for Imp in the Kalista. So
the Yasuo, man, I cannot believe that they kept Kalista open and banned Yasuo when they're picking Braum. If you're not picking Braum, the Yasuo Braum, especially in Sieges, is just so strong, and you're going to give up something like a Cogmore for it. So I can understand the trade-off there because of the long range and things, but if you're going to pick Braum, just don't ban the Yasuo.
It's just a God V thing.
Yeah, just a God V thing.
I have to say, I think we already know QG's 3 bans. They're on blue side. They're probably just going to go Diana, Yasuo, Kalista.
Yep.
That's going to be up to LGD to decide how badly do we not want to play against Lulu in our last game.
I'm going to say 100%, otherwise they might lose the game.
Well, we're going to have to find out in a sec, but let's get more from that last game as we pop back out to the War Room.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time, and Imp got Kalista. Back to you. No. There's a little bit more to it, but honestly, you got to ban that champion.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk Kalista real quick, in particularly Imp's Kalista and what Kalista really means for LGD. So Imp's Kalista is now 13-5 with that victory. He has a 73% win rate, and you have to think majority, actually all of those stats are from his time in the LPL, just because Kalista is a relatively newer champion. Now, his itemization was he decides to rush Hurricane, and Imp was one of the first 80 carries in the LPL to start practicing and playing that Kalista, and not to a lot of success initially.
I think his first build was Static Shiv IE, just as if he was playing anything.
Yeah, he had a lot of fun with it. But particularly in this build, we had the Hurricane Rush, which because he does so much damage with his rend, and it was more important. So you'll notice how Kalista was rotated around between multiple lanes to push down towers. So not only is the Hurricane going to, again, empower his rend damage, so elongated prolonged fights where he's able to get multiple stacks and then pull it out, abusing the Hurricane synergy with the Rend. But then he's also able to push down towers, clears waves much more quickly. And then instead of going the Bloodthirster, he went for the Blade of the Rune King, which makes sense. So Bloodthirster is a pretty key item on Kalista after Hurricane, or even sometimes before Hurricane, if you're facing a very burst type of composition, so like an Assassin or LeBlanc, because the shield is going to counteract a lot of that initial burst damage that an Assassin can put down onto you. But by taking the Blade of the Rune King, it's a direct response to the fact that Xiaogu had prioritized Maokai, and so taking all of those dive threats back onto Kalista. So not only able to shred through a lot of that tanky frontline, the Braum, the Maokai, but able to kite back away from them. So again, empowering elongated, sustained fights.
Not to mention there's also the adaptation of the fact that Kalista had her base AD lowered just a little bit. It's a little bit more about that Rend damage, a little bit more about building those up. But we do have the first replay, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the old Acorn teleport, one of the teleports that worked out quite well in this game to really start LGD off.
Yeah, and we talked about, you don't give Imp Kalista. Likewise, you don't give Acorn Hecarim. We can go ahead and pull this one out. It's going to be, like you said, that incredible teleport that we've come to really expect from Acorn. It's back here. He's going to come into the back of this fight, and just watch Imp's positioning as Acorn just runs havoc, knocks out one person, then hits Swift with the fear, and Imp just completely untouched. Again, these elongated, sustained fights where you're getting so much more out of your consistent sustained damage through the Ren proc as opposed to the initial upfront burst from a BT.
Yeah, it was just much better played this game around than it was in the previous games. And of course, LGD now having to try and find their way through on the red side as opposed to the blue side, and that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought it up. So far for this series, blue side is 100% win rate. We've already talked about, earlier on how Xiaogu have an incredible win rate on blue side. So LGD, if they want to win this series, they need to finally beat Xiaogu on the red side. But fun thing about that, LGD were actually the very first team to break Xiaogu's blue side 100% dominance.
Well, also things have changed just a little bit considering the fact that, Godvi has not been performing quite as well in that mid lane against Doinby, and that was no exception in this game. Let's talk, honestly, I'm going to be honest, the fact that, Xiaogu definitely looked like they got a little bit thrown around this game, but we'll bring up the next replay, and that's going to be a demonstration of Doinby showing that, he's still got some fight left in him, even when they're down by about 10,000 gold.
Okay, so this team fight is the one that Xiaogu actually win when they try to dive the inhibitor. And what I want to point out is the itemization coming out of Azir right now. So you have a Void Staff. He basically needs that at 30 minutes because otherwise he's not going to do any damage. He's so far behind the clock. LGD are so far ahead that they've gotten the resistance items out and ready, so he needs the Void Staff so he can even do damage. But the Gnasher's Tooth into Rylai's. So again, 5.15. The patch has changed. The slows have changed. You now do 40%, which is the max slow, off of the auto attack on the Sand Soldiers. So your Gnasher's Tooth is empowering the Sand Soldiers, and the Rylai's is just adding that bonus slow on them. So we can go ahead and roll the clip, and what you're going to see is Doinby is going to get 3 Sand Soldiers stacked up on LGD and just wreck them.
It was a good pick to start it off by LGD, though.
Yeah, but here's Doinby pretty much 1v5 trying to defend this tower. Sets down the Emperor's Divide because he's just trying to create space and time. There's 1 Sand Soldier. He eventually gets 3 just right up in this area. Yeah, there we go. Yep, there we go. And look at all of that damage. V also does a fantastic job in this team fight, just standing on top of everyone with his ultimate. So LGD just getting way too overzealous, trying to make that dive, but Xiaogu again proving that they can be the kings of team fighting.
They can. Unfortunately, they then made an interesting decision. It is going to lead into our next replay, but decide that they're going to try and pick up their first dragon of the game, but things don't necessarily work out. But I mean, I guess they have to go for desperation plays like that. We do have it up right now, and Frosker, I just don't understand.
Yeah, so Doinby's going to get deleted real quick here. And again, we talked about, where is the power in Xiaogu's composition right now? It's pretty much on Doinby. Yeah, you have TNT who's on the Kog'Maw, the hyper carry, but in this composition specifically, because...
if we look at it as well, I mean, there's 340 CS at 32 minutes into the game. Like, that is massive for a team that's behind this far.
But again, it speaks to, we talked about in the last War Room, Lulu with Kog'Maw, the fact that Lulu's banned this time around, but Kog'Maw also synergizes so well with control mages, especially control mages that bring so much incredible utility and space. Azir Kog'Maw is a very famous duo right now in the LPL just because the Emperor's Divide is going to create space to allow Kog'Maw to run and do his thing. We can go ahead and roll this through. Doinby does not last very long. So Acorn with another fantastic engagement. Doinby's dead. Doesn't really get much say, and then it's just running into them as TNT, shows up on the back half of the fight like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm relevant, right? Nope, not really.
No, not so much. And that is going to be the 4th dragon lockdown, of course. After that, the 5th dragon comes through for LGD. One thing after another. I believe that was just before the Baron that LGD were able to secure after that point. So things most definitely looking better for this team. But what does it mean moving on to Game 5? Because Xiaogu have showed us before, especially in their game against IG, the fact that, you know, it might be a Game 5. The pressure might be on, but it doesn't matter. They'll still show up for that final game.
The thing that you also really need to consider for Game 5 in a best-of series, especially in a grand final, is that people are going to be playing for the late game. You're not going to risk your best-of-5 series on an early game invade. So we shouldn't see any sort of early game shenanigans or even risky mid-game plays, because you don't want to just make that one snowball and just be punished from something that you did foolishly in the first 10 minutes. Expect that teams are going to pick hyper carries in every single position, and they're going to look to scale late. Now, why I bring that up in terms of Xiaogu is because Xiaogu are a one-team fighting type of team. If the game goes long enough, 45, 55 minutes, where your gold deficit doesn't matter, Xiaogu can win.
Well, we'll see whether they can. But we do have the final replay. It is going to be, of course, that last fight. And, yeah, let's just play it out.
Yeah, that's 5th Dragon. That's 72K. That's 56K. I don't really need to narrate anything that's happening on the screen because that's all the relevant information that you need.
Melting red health bars is, I think, what we're going to call this one.
Yeah.
And that is basically how it played out as well. Doinby did manage to get another kill, so illustrating once again that he is definitely a powerful force. But Acorn just hoofed over the top of him, as our friend Spawn would like to say.
Ran him over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that said, LGD, you know, again, taking it to Qiao and doing kind of their best impersonation of LGD. We've expected this. They're a very macro-oriented team. You know, picking the Kalista not only because it's a comfort pick for them, finding the 2v2 with an incredibly potent, very powerful lane, Thresh Kalista, and then as soon as they had tower objective, you know, pushing down the freestanding structure gold, using that as a surplus into their gold values, and then taking Qiao head on in the 5v5 when they already had the initial lead. So Imp starts in the bottom, they get the initial lead there with the teleport, move him to the top lane, move him to the mid lane, take all the freestanding gold, get the tower advantage, translate that into 5v5 advantage.
Yeah, and so far, actually, if we want to just talk about, you know, advantages that these teams have managed to pick up over this series, the Lulu really stands out like a sore thumb. Currently 100% win rate in this series, and Xiaogu have won only when they have that Lulu in their hands. And we'll see whether that is going to be something that's going to be targeted in the next draft phase.
Yeah, and again, Qiao moving on to the blue side, so they will have the priority pick. They've already shown this series that they're willing to first pick it on initial rotation. Curious thing, though, does that mean that Imp, you know, falls back to the Kog'Maw? We talked about, you know, 5th game, last game in your series that you're typically going to look for hyper carries. So I expect to see Vaynes, Kog'Maws, Jinxes, things like that.
Well, we'll see exactly what happens, but we